Well, again, we're just so honored to be here, really are. We're very excited about your growth. And we're not going to, obviously, we don't have hours to go through this, but you already have a background. You've listened to some of the CDs, right? Okay, got some of the background. So I just may want to at least try to give you a few things that we've learned along the process of it. And if you have questions, feel free to ask. We can get it to you. Let me give you a little history of our dealing with the QI. December of 2006, okay, so about 15 months ago, a number of the emeralds and diamonds within had really been talking, saying, what is it that we can do? What do we need to do to really help growth happen? Because we were bringing people in the business, but the reality is that as we were bringing in, we were losing, okay? And I know you don't know what that means here in Australia, but in the U.S. that happens. And we saw growth, but we didn't see it the way we really wanted. And so we started asking ourselves some questions, and we said, what do we need to do to help a couple things? Number one, what do we need to do to attract younger people into the business? Because we found that as leaders, more of us were past 45 years old than under 45. And we said we have to address that, because in a blink of an eye, we will be 55 and older, that we have got to attract younger people in the business. Number two, we said, what do we need to do to help develop younger leaders quicker and get things moving quicker and build up younger, not just bring younger people into the business, but building younger leaders into the business? And then the third one is, what do we need to do to help people get started quicker with more profitability so that they're making money quicker, that we can get the process started quickly, okay? And so it was those questions that started to lead us to say, okay, what is it that causes that? Well, in the United States, there's a couple organizations that over the last 3 to 4 years have had tremendous growth. The Korean organization, the Hispanic organization, and among the Caucasian organization, there was one organization in Dexter's team that was having great growth. And we had heard some of their leaders speak, but we never heard specifics of what they were doing. Okay, well, one of our good friends, our Emeralds, he gave me a call in January of 2007. Okay, this is December 2006. In January 2007, a year ago, he called and said that I found out where they're having one of their meetings. You got to come up here, and you just got to come to one of their workshops, one of their meetings where they're showing the plan. So I said, oh, I'd love to, and try to see what they're doing. Well, here's what happened. I went up with two of our platinums, went up there, and our workshops have been starting at 8 o'clock, where we show the plan. Here's the reality. About 10 minutes to 8, some of the IBOs start coming, 5 minutes to 8, 8 o'clock, about 8:05 we get started, and okay, that's where it is. 7 o'clock, said be there at 7 o'clock. It starts at 8, be there at 7. I said, okay, great. Doors opened at 7:15. There was a room of about 200 chairs. And by 7:15, when the doors opened, there were 60 people in line at 7:15. Oh, okay. Open up, get in. By 7:30, 80% of the room is full, and by 20 minutes to 8, there's not a chair left. 20 minutes before 8 o'clock. And I'm going, wow, they're fired up. Well, they introduced the guy who's going to speak, and what hit me, he's a great guy, very good communicator, he's a diamond in the business, but afterwards, or during the plan, he said, if you are between the ages of 19 and 25, raise your hand. 80% of the room raised their hand. We're going, okay. And he said, now if you're over 45, raise your hand. And I went, holy cow, they're fired up. And they are attracting young people. They are getting young people. Well, at the end of the workshop, at the time where they showed the plan, he said that anybody who would hit the 7,500 level, if they would come on stage and they would sell who they are and their profit in the business, okay, their best month profit in the business. Person after person after person. 22, I made $3,000 last month. 24, I made $5,000 last month. 22, made $6,000. I mean, person after person after person in their young 20s making money. I said, okay. Obviously, they're doing some things. Now, specifically, what are they all doing? We're not sure. Well, the next month in February, we went down to Omaha, Nebraska. Found out that that's about 3 hours south of us. Found out there's a team there. Went down there, same thing. 200 people in the room. The guy that greeted me at the door was 19 years old. Came in, same scenario. What had hit me was that the person who spoke, the Emerald, 34 years old, 35 years old, did very good. But again, predominant, all people in their 20s. But what really hit me in the workshop, and then they do a training afterwards. In the training, he got 3 guys up there. One was 23, one was 22, and one was 20. The 23-year-old was a Ruby in the business, making about $7,000 a month as a Ruby, 23 years old. That's not bad. He registered the 22-year-old that was at the 4,000 PV level, who registered the 20-year-old. The guy at the Emerald was talking to the 20-year-old. And he said, how long have you been in the business? The guy said, 5 days. Okay, he said, great. He said, you fired up? He said, oh, I'm fired up. In fact, he went to a major conference. They had a major conference that previous weekend. He said, great. Have these guys helped you? He said, oh, yeah, these guys have helped. These guys have helped a lot. He asked the 23 and 22-year-old, he says, have you helped this guy? They go, oh, yeah, we've helped this guy. He said, how many QIs have you done for this guy? Now, the guy's been in the business 5 days. What would you like to think? How many QIs they've done for him? 60. And I'm going, 60 QIs has been in the business 5 days? Now, how many think that that's pretty good? Because how many think kind of the traditional way of doing it, by the time you got 60 plans in, it's probably a couple months down the road. Usually. And in 5 days, they did 60 QIs. He had 5 personals already registered him, and he was going to register 2 new personals. He was fired up. He planned that basically after his first 30 days, his goal was to be 10 wide. How many think out of 10 wide, he's going to make some money? And he's going to find some things to work with. We went, wow, okay. And so we just started learning, okay, now what are they doing? And we just started asking questions. Okay, now how are you doing? What are they doing? And we're just trying to learn. Well, the next month we went back to Minneapolis again, because I just trying to learn. At the workshop that night afterwards, the Diamond said, okay, we're having supper for anybody who this last month did 20 QIs in the last month. He said, so if this is your first month you've ever done 20 QIs, that's the most you've ever done, 20 QIs or more, why don't you raise your hand? Okay, and they introduced themselves. And basically there were about 19 IBO ships that did that. And he said, okay, now if you've done it before, but it's not your first time, but you did 20 plans this last month, raise your hand. Between the two, they had over 50 IBO ships that showed 20 plans last month. Think about the math. 50 times 20 is 1,000 QIs done in the last 30 days. And they, at that meeting, they had probably close to 60 new prospects, all sitting in the front rows, taking notes, fired up. Well, how many know if you do 100 QIs, you're going to have growth? Very simple. As we began to study it flat out, they've got it down. They had been implemented about 3 years previous. And we started to look at the numbers of what they were doing and how things were happening. It was unbelievable. There's a guy in Des Moines, Iowa, and it's all happening in the Midwest, basically around where we're at, within 6 hours of us. In Des Moines, Iowa, there's a young man who has the fastest growing organization in the United States. Okay, all 20s, all 20 to 25, basically predominantly. One of his emeralds in the previous 90 days brought in 975 new IBOs into the group in 90 days. Now, I think that's pretty good. I think that could be good, okay? And so we began to study what does it do. Here's some of the things we've learned, okay? Traditionally, this is the way the process goes, okay? You have a list, make contact, okay, you set up an appointment, okay, great. Then if you want to add the QI, do a QI, okay, and then you get them to a workshop, and then you do a follow-through, and then you get them started. The QI philosophy is real simple. Instead of all separate things and all separate events, it is simply one movement. It's like a golf swing. It is one thing. So, for example, if you took a golf swing, Tiger Woods golf swing, are there different facets of the swing? There's the approach, okay, there's the lineup, there's the first initial, there's the back, there's a boom, there's hit, there's follow through, right? But it is all one movement. It is one movement. And they've got this down where it is one movement, and it's simply this. It is a QI that leads to getting them started. And this can happen all within a few hours. That's the biggest thing that we've had to shift in our mind. That these are not separate events. That this is one movement. And it's just a process of going through a filtering system, going through numbers, and letting it work for you. Here's what they have found numbers-wise. When they do 7 QIs, they find out that 5 say that they're interested and want to come to a workshop, which says that 3 actually come to a workshop, which says that 1 gets started. That's their numbers. 7, 5, 3, 1. Which says that most people in the course of normal, the way that we did, somebody did 7 plans a month. You know what I'm saying? They never get numbers working for them. The numbers of their organization is not dramatically, oh man, they're sponsoring everybody. No. They're just going through what? Numbers so stinking quick. And they are not wasting time with people who are not looking. It's the most incredible filter system I've ever seen. And it simply walks it through. Now let me give you a couple suggestions that we've learned along the way. Okay? The contact. So all this is the QI. The contact, everything is about, I'm working with a team of entrepreneurs. That is the line. We used to say, I have my own business. But the problem is, when I have my own business, who's the expert? I'm the expert, and I have to be able to answer your question. If you ask me a question, and I go, well, I can't. Well, wait a minute. It's my bit. What do you mean? You don't even know your own business? But if I can say, hey, I'm working with what? A team of entrepreneurs. Or I've met a team of entrepreneurs if a person's just getting started. Now, I'm not the expert. Everything's about the team, the team, the team, the team, the team. There is no, what question would I ask? Listen, I'm not the person to ask that, but I need to introduce you to the team. Everything is about the team. Does that make sense? And so the QI contact starts off with the whole aspect of the meeting the team. The appointment, you've probably heard the audience, short. 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Okay? What does QI stand for? You know what it stands for? It's a quality invite or a quality interview. It's both the same. We have one person on our team that keeps calling it an IQ, which is true. It is an IQ test. Okay? But the whole process is an interview. So when I'm sitting with somebody, hey, I'm getting to know them. I'm getting to meet them as a friend. I'm complimenting them. But now I'm going to start. If I believe that I want to talk to them, I'm going to start the interview process right there, if possible, by saying, hey, can I ask you a question? If they say, yes, they look, I'm working with team entrepreneurs, they look, they have passed the first phase of the interview, which now says we're actually going to do the QI itself for 10 to 15 minutes at the most. Let me give you a suggestion of what we have found on the QI brochure. The magic is not what you say here. The magic is your first 60 seconds, first 120 seconds, and your last 60 seconds. Because here's a mistake we made. We started just saying, okay, here's what's going on. Boom, 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 boom. You interested? Well, how many know that's kind of hard to make them feel like there's a relationship between the two of you? Kind of like meeting a gal. Hey, you want to get married? A little quick. Okay? So before we even bring it out, we're simply going to get to know them a little bit, but here's a couple questions we ask them. Okay? I'll set it up and say that, hey, listen, we are looking for two things. Basically the reason I'm here. So if I'm going to show Kenny the business, I say, I'll just talk to him a little bit. How's your day? Great. Hey, listen, Kenny, I'm excited to be here. Let me tell you why I'm here tonight. Okay? I'm here really to find out two things. Okay? Number one, do we think alike and do we connect? And do we connect on two of the four basics that this team of entrepreneurs has been teaching me? If we do, then the next step is, and you have one of three options. If there's a workshop at a hotel, something in your area on a weekly basis, great. That's the next step. If you're in an area that there is not a workshop on a regular basis, then it's potentially second option. It's at a home. You're going to be at a home with somebody. Okay? And if you don't have that, the third option is one-on-one back with them. Make sense? Either way, it doesn't matter. So Kenny, the reason I'm here tonight is basically see if we think alike and if we connect on two of the four basics that this team teaches. Okay? The same entrepreneurs. Kenny, if we do, then the next step will be I want you to meet the team and have you attend one of the workshops. Okay? Now, Kenny, let me ask your schedule. And I'm going to find out right there if you can attend the workshop, if there's one. Tuesday night, we have a workshop in town where a lot of leaders will be there. Is that an option for you? Could you possibly join us if we connect? I want to find out right there. Because if he says, I got to work every Tuesday night, how many know I'm going to go to option B? I'm going to go to the next thing. I know where it's going. Great. Well, with that in mind, boom, let's walk through this. And okay, here we go. And I just walk through it. Here, let me teach you what we do. And I walk through this. We help people they teach how to go from active to passive, economics to distribution. We connect people straight. This is the streams of income that we now get paid. We have a support system, flexibility, I mean, I take maybe 4 minutes, 5 minutes. To get to project one in the U.S., we say 40 to 60,000. What do you guys say? 3 to 4,000 a month? Okay, whatever you say, okay. Project one, 12 to 18 months, okay, with a time investment about 5 to 15 hours a week on your end. Project two, 6-figure income, 2 to 5 years. Okay, great. Now comes the next important question. Okay, you connect. Great. And Kenny, let Kenny respond, but most people will respond by one of the phases. So here's my question. Let me ask you, what would that change in your life? Kenny, that project one, $3,000 to $4,000, what would that change in your life? And he's going to tell me all the different things. Okay, great. And I'm going to go further. Why is that important? Why is that important? Kenny, why is that important to you? We talk a little more, great. Then I'm going to ask him one more question. Do you have a plan right now in place? Do you have a plan right now in place to achieve that goal? Does that make sense what I'm asking? So I've simply said, how would that project one change? Why is it important? Do you have a current plan in place? And the minute he says, do you have a current plan in place? No. Immediately, he's getting started. Make sense? The QI, immediately at that point, do you know the plan in place? No. Boom, we're getting started. Everything's about getting started now. I'm not going to say, well, listen, if you'd like to, why don't you come to workshop and see what you think, and I'll try to answer questions for you. No. He told me what he wanted. He told me why it was important. He said he has no other way, right? Now, we are going to get him started, but not in the middle. We're getting him started towards his goal. So, Kenny, great. No other plan in place, dynamite. Kenny, here's the next step. I already told him. We're just going to review it. Next step is I need to get you to a workshop. Or, let's say there's not one here. I need to get back with you and your wife, and I need to walk through the details, okay, of the project. Either way, and basically show you exactly how we're going to help you his dream. So I need to get you to the workshop where you meet the other people on the team. And they're going to walk through the specifics of exactly how we're going to help you accomplish your, make sense? Everything's about his dream. Now, what if he says, oh, yeah, that's great, but he doesn't attend the workshop? Did the QI work? Absolutely, the QI worked. It filtered him out. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I didn't waste any time. But when he comes to the workshop, okay, dynamite, it's a part of the getting started process. Does that make sense? Now, let me give you a couple hints on the workshop, because the workshop is the key. If you have a workshop in your area, or as you're building to one, that's game night. I'll just talk about the workshop. If you have one in an area where there's a hotel or you're meeting somewhere each week, that's game night. That is the most important night of the week. So for us in Sioux Falls, it's Tuesday night. 8 o'clock is when it starts, but 7:30 is when IBOs are in the door. It's warm-up time. Game time's 8, warm-up time is at 7:30. 7:30 when IBO's in the room, just so that they can shake their hands, get everybody's attitude straight. How many know that as an IBO, sometimes you need to get your attitude? That gives them 15 minutes to shake people's hand, get a smile on their face. Did you have a good day? Hey, listen, fired up for you. It's going to be a great night. We're excited. Okay, great. Guests come at 7:45. We want guests at 7:45 so they can meet some of the other leaders. That's why we want the IBOs at 7:30, so they walk into a room and they go, whoa, wow, there's people fired up here. You ever had an IBO with you, walk into a room and it's kind of half empty? Defeats the whole purpose, okay? Man, I'm going to get Kenny in the front row. I'm going to introduce him to all the leaders, but not the speaker. I don't want him to introduce the speaker yet. Great. It starts there, fired up. Now, if you are an IBO and you have a workshop in your area, game night is for you. Well, what if I don't have somebody going? You're still on the team. Everybody is important to the team. What can you do, man? You are filling a chair. You are fired up. You're excited. You are shaking hands of guests as they come in. Hey, great to have you. Who are you? Dynamite? Listen, you're going to enjoy the speaker tonight. Fabulous. Okay? Just be friendly. Just be friendly. Man, when the meeting's going on, you know what you do for the speaker? You smile. You smile and you take notes, you take notes, you take notes, you take notes. Because how many of you hope someday to be leading a workshop? Exactly. That's how you learn, okay? Now, the minute the workshop is done, okay, boom, the workshop is done, the speaker says dynamite. Now, here's what we have learned in the States. You can do however you want. If you're doing a workshop or even a house meeting, I tell people up front. If I'm the speaker, I tell people up front. Listen, here tonight, it's exciting to be here with you. Here's what we're going to do tonight. Number one, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself and help you understand who the team is. It's number one. Number two, I'm going to take this brochure and we're going to fill in the brochure for you. Number three, I'm going to bring it to life. I encourage you to write those down. Those are important statements to make. Even if I'm doing a one-on-one with Kenny at his kitchen table, going through the details, Kenny, here's what I'm going to do tonight. I'm going to tell you a little bit background more of the team. So you understand the team. I'm going to bring this to life. I'm filling details. I'm going to bring it to life. Now, Kenny, at the end, whether it's one-on-one or a house meeting or a workshop at a hotel, I'm going to say this. If your goals still match the goals of the team, okay, your goal of getting your wife, match the team, then here's what we're going to do. We're going to offer to lead. You're going to have to ask for them. Here with you. I'm not going to ask you if you want them. And I tell people up front because we used to, hey, you want some information? Well, sure. They're not going to say no. Give them information, then we spend the next 2 weeks chasing them. I'm going to say, listen, if you want the information, though, you need to ask for it. We don't want to make you feel uncomfortable or feel like you're pressured into anything by any means, okay? but I'll offer it if you ask. Okay, dynamite. So now the workshop is done. Immediately, if I'm at the workshop, I get Kenny. Kenny's done. The workshop's done. I turn to Kenny, and I'm going to ask a couple questions. Hey, can you see why we're fired up? Kenny, can you see why we're fired up? Exactly. Second question. Kenny, can you see how this can achieve your goal and your dream of getting your, okay, super. Dynamite, listen, I want to introduce you to the speaker. And immediately I'm going to introduce the speaker. And let's say that Dave is doing the meeting that night. I'm going to bring Kenny up to Dave and I'm going to say, hey, Dave, this is Kenny. This is what he does. He has a great attitude. Dave, Kenny's dream is to take his kids to Disney World in the States. That's his dream. Dynamite, what's Dave going to do now? Man, he's going to jump all over that. Oh, that's a great dream. Oh, you should do. Oh, that's it. And he'll edify the team. He'll edify me. Great, dynamite. Okay, and he'll remind, hey, listen, if you get excited about that, make sure you ask for information. So the minute he leaves, I simply say, great. Any question you want to ask me? Because I'm only looking for one question. What's the question? What's that information? What do I need to do? Oh, yeah. Here, I got the information here. Dynamite. Listen, we need to get back now within 24 hours, if at all possible. Schedule it as soon as possible. And I'm not saying to answer questions. Kenny, we need to get back in 24 hours, and I'm going to help you draw up a game plan on how we're going to help you. The game plan on how we're going to help you get your kids to Disney. He's getting started. Which says when I get back to him in 24 hours, I'm going to get back to him and say, hey, listen, you still fired up about going to Disney? In fact, I got some brochures here for you, man. I'll tell you, we're fired up. Listen, Kenny, here's the game plan. And here's what we say. First 30 days, here you are. Our game plan is in the next 30 days is to help you register 6 people personally to you as quick as we can, Kenny. 6 people to your team and add another 4 underneath there somewhere for a total of 10 on your team in the first 30 days. If they're each doing an average of about 100 points, you're going to make a couple $100. Not a big deal, but you're getting started. Kenny, in the next 60 days after that, our goal is real simple. We want to increase each one of those 100 PV circles to 300 PV. That could be through they're buying more of their own stuff, they have some customers, or they're bringing other people onto their team. Great. At that point, Kenny, you're going to be making about $800 a month. Kenny, what would you do with an extra $800 a month right now? Boom, boom, boom. He tells me dynamite. Well, Kenny, that's a game plan. And then we go on from there and work and get your kids to Disney World. So it all starts here, Kenny, right here. This is where it starts. Dynamite. You want me to show you how simple this is, Kenny? You want me to show you how simple this is? Great. Why don't you grab your cell phone? And right there, I'm going to take, and on a piece of paper, I'm going to say, okay, let's walk through your cell phone, and I want to get your top 20 draft picks. And I'm looking for people ages 20 to 29 that have a high ambition level. If I just say, hey, Kenny, pull somebody out of your phone book. Just pull out somebody you think might be interested, and I'll call him. He spends 5 minutes doing this. Because what's he doing? He's prejudging everybody. Great. I say, Kenny, let me show you how simple this is. Can I see your cell phone? How many numbers you got on? 100? Great. Let me see it. Okay, Amanda. Tell me about Amanda. How old is she? Okay, super. High ambition level? Okay, let's write her down. We're just going to walk through it. Okay, dynamite. Here we go, Kenny. Top 20, we got them. Okay, let's do a 50-50 call. Kenny, just call. Say hi. Tell them that I'm sitting here with you, and I want to talk to them. Hand the phone to me. Here we go. And my goal is before I leave Kenny that I have 8 QIs booked before I leave his house. Could I do a QI that night? I could do a QI right there that night. Sure. It's simply one motion. It's just one motion. And if you can, the hardest thing for us has been that it's just one motion. How fast could this go? Could you, for example, is there the opportunity that I could meet Kenny that day, go to his house, set it up at where he works, go to his house, do a QI, and even at that point he says, well, wow, this looks great. Could I say, hey, who's one of the top people you think of right there? And you want me to show you how simple this is? Could I do that all in one day? Absolutely, you could do that. And how fast can you make this thing happen? That's simply it. Step 2. So it is no holds barred. It's one motion. Just fling it through. Just fling it through. Okay? Why don't you come up here and share a couple thoughts from your end, and then we will close it off here.
I think you have to understand that all of this growth that was taking place in America was happening in our backyard. It was all in the Midwest. So that's why we really had a sense of urgency to figure out what the heck they were doing. But what I was more interested in is, yes, getting people in, but How do you get the PD to follow? Do you understand that? Because we get paid on product movement, right? And so I really paid attention and listened to what they did to get the PD to follow. One thing we do, and so if you need to talk to your upline before you change things or do anything, but what we do is when they ask at the workshop, say, yes, I want the information, we give them samples then. Usually maybe it's a can of excess and a bar or something like that. That's the time that we leave them some samples. And then when we get back with them and they say they want to get started, well, we learned is that they work with the word SEED, S-E-E-D, which stands for Skin Cares, Edible, Energy, and Ditto. That is kind of their philosophy on getting people started. And yes, we love the laundry and all those kinds of things, but that's what they focus on. But that has the greatest PV for the dollar value is those products. So that's how they get started. So how do I implement those? Is that if whoever the shopper is in the family, I sit down with her and we go, it's called Our Choices. You probably have like an exclusive catalog here with Nutrilite or NutriWay, I think it's called here, and Artistry and those kinds of things. And so I sit down with whoever the shopper is. We walk through, I acquaint them with those products. I find out what products they use. Then we go to the computer, and you have Ditto delivery here, right? Yep, okay. Then we go to the computer, and we put those products in the computer, get their Ditto set up, and then I schedule a skincare at that time, too. I would much rather sell someone a skincare than a lipstick and an eye color. Because you know what? A lipstick and eye color lasts forever. Skincare, they use up every month. And so I like that part. I like their philosophy on that. So we get the skincare set up. So how do we implement the seeds, skincare, edibles, energy, Ditto? Of course, when we gave them the first night pack, they got a bar and they got the excess drink. So we're implementing those in there. We get the Ditto set up and we sit down with them and they'll go through the exclusive catalogs. And then we automatically right away get the skincare set up. And so that's how we integrate the product, get them started, and I love the philosophy they have on that, and we've seen great success from that.
All right. Let me finish by this. You got to change your expectation level more than anything else. The two hardest things for us with the QI system was simply changing the understanding that it is one movement. This is not a new system. It is not a new way of doing the business. It is simply taking what we did and putting it into hyperdrive. Make sense? Instead of frame by frame by frame by frame by frame, it's one motion. It's motion picture. Man, just boom. And once you get it, how fast can it happen? Let me give you an idea. About 2.5 hours northwest of where we live. Okay, we're here 2.5 hours northwest. Here's a town called Mankato, Minnesota. We heard that trying to get a workshop started there in that town. Well, we have a guy in our organization that at that point had a couple people that he knew up there. And we found out where it was. And we said, great, do a QI, bring him there. So he did. They went to that first meeting. This was in the middle of October. Okay, so about the 15th October, there were 12 people in the room. He and his wife, and they had 2 prospects. There were 8 other prospects. Okay, now the prospects he brought were not interested. And so to be honest, he didn't go to the next meetings because his business was kind of elsewhere. He called me in mid-January, at least beginning of January, and said, hey, there's going to be another workshop up there, and I got some other prospects. I'm going to go. I said, I'd like to join you for that. Okay, went up there. Now this is 3 months later. Walked in, there were 175 in the room, all young, and I mean wired up, fired up people. How many think from 12 to 175 in 3 months is not bad? I think that is real good. It's changing your expectation level so that when they say, I have no other plan in place, boom, they're in. Okay, we're getting started. Let's go. Okay, one movement. How fast can you make it happen? Because when you get that kind of growth happening, then everything else follows. So for example, in that organization that we were telling about that in 90 days, they put in 975, how many think that can create some problems? How many of you want those problems? Such as, how do you follow up on dittos? I mean, how do you just get people going? Well, think about this. One of the gals, we heard them talk, that what she did is she took 2 hours on a Saturday afternoon and she went to a Starbucks with her wireless computer and she just set up 10 minutes. Every about 5-10 minutes. Jing, 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 jing. Okay, meet here. I'm going to set up your ditto. I'm going to set up your ditto. Okay, here we go. Okay. Set up. Okay, great. Next, set up. And she just rotated them basically in and out. In that 2 hours, she added just under 6,000 PV to her team total on a monthly ditto. Is that okay? I think it's pretty good. Another part of that organization said, okay, we got all these people getting in. We got to get them set up with dittos. Well, what they did is they set up like 5 or 6 locations over the course of one weekend at houses. and called all the people that were brand new and said, listen, we need to set your date up. Which one works best for you? Okay, boom, 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 boom. Come to that, and we'll set them up. And what they did is they did a product training where they walked them through some of the edibles and, what we have in our line, some of the skincare, introduced them to that, not the SA8. You know how long a box of SA8 lasts for a 22-year-old single guy? 22 years. Okay, so it's all about skincare, edible, all the things Cindy said, okay, got them started. In one weekend, if you add it up over the course of the year on Ditto, they broke the equivalent of, let's see, how many? Almost 6 platinums in one weekend. It's expectation. It's how fast can this thing happen? And gang, that's what we're seeing. And so it took a little time for us to change our mindset. Okay, thinking, but man, I'll tell you, we are fired. I mean, it's been a joy being here, but I'll tell you, I'm fired up to get back home. Because I've been meeting a ton of people. Last thing I mentioned this to Silvers last night. There's a couple there in that organization. They had a 7,500 leg, 6,000, 6,000. And for 2 years, Doug beat the thrash out of those 2 legs of 6,000 trying to get them over. Couldn't. Finally said, oh my word, okay, I just got to get new legs. And here's what he did. Using the QI approach, he met 500 people in the course of like 9 months. He said, I'm just going to go say hi to everybody. And I'm going to meet people. I'm going to say hi. I'm going to say hi. I'm going to say hi. Okay? Great. Of those, he called, okay, I'll put this called here, 300 of them. Of those 300, he did a QI with 100 of them. Of that 100, 75 said they were interested. Actually, 35 actually were interested enough to come to a workshop. He registered 17, and of those 17, 3 of them went platinum in that year. So he created an extra $100,000 a year income by building an emerald chip in 12 months. Because he was so sharp? No. Because he simply let the QI system flood out who was looking in a hurry. Make sense? Now, if he did that, do you think you can do that? Sure you can. Because that's what it does. Here's the reality. I and some of you here have been too good, and you have gotten people sponsored that should have never been sponsored. And you wanted it more for them than they wanted for themselves, and you did all the work while they watched, and you were working with the wrong people. Right? We've done that. Okay? Same as here. So it is changing your thought. How fast can we make this happen? And friends, I believe with all my heart, we have only begun to see what this thing is going to do. There is no doubt in our mind that your numbers in the next 6 months cannot double. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind. There's no doubt in my mind, Dave knows this, that 1 year from now, that the whole function numbers could triple. We have seen that happen in this organization. They have at one of their free enterprises, they have 8,000 at their one free enterprise, all in their 20s. You know what that does for creating energy? Among some of us who come in with our strollers and put them over here and find our seat. And here's the last thing I'll say. Some of you who've been in the business any length of time, you're going, I don't know if I have the energy to, wow, you don't have to. I mean, it's crazy. Dave knows this. As we started implementing the QI, I'd get home at 9 o'clock and I'd go, I'd already shown 4 QIs. The shops are closed at 9. What am I supposed to? You know what I'm saying? It's a whole different ball game because it's one motion now. And how many times can we just whack this thing, take a swing, and we're going to get 3 big drives out of this? You hit the ball 500 times, you're going to get 3 drives and make 100,000.